and then coming back to by the stage. And normally if they're good, they came with their mouth open, their chin up, and they're like, hi, what are we going to do now? And they were all happy and ready to go. They're coming back and spy hopping, which is what they do when they want to get a good look at something. So it's very clear they're going out and doing stuff incorrect to see what kind of reaction they got. Because they're coming back going, I did that wrong, what are you going to do? And it was, so we had to take a good look, and we realized everybody reacted a little bit differently. And we were actually reinforcing them with our responses because we were all over the map. So then we had to come up with something we called the least reinforcing stimulus. In the dog world, called an LRS. We developed it, with the marine mammals at SeaWorld. And we had to come up with something very uniform because uniform is much more predictable and much less reinforcing than the variability. So did you know, like if you had a behavior that you fed every single time you did it, it would increase and then it would decrease slightly. But if you fed it randomly, and sometimes you pet, and sometimes you ran, sometimes you played, it would go up and up and up and up because you're tapping into the very, very, very beginning of, I've always been reinforced for this. And so then they try harder. And so it is, the variability is, I cannot tell you how much. Sometimes it's simply giving different types of food, different amounts of food, sometimes petting, sometimes playing, sometimes doing another behavior. So variability is also very reinforcing, but our responses, when they can be inconsistent, can be very reinforcing. So consistency is key when you're dealing with some incorrect behavior. So being in a protected contact place gives you the option of being as uniform and consistent as possible. Does that make sense?
Yeah, one of the things that I'd like to say is I have a client who just kind of refuses to use the food. And I don't push it on anybody. Like, if you don't want to use it, that's fine. We'll keep doing traditional training. But her basis for this is, well, they did research with students. She's a school teacher. They did research with students where they were rewarded for good performance. And she's like, and it didn't work. We'll have to come back and say, how did they reward them?
Yes.
Was it every single time? Well, of course their response is going to go down. Was it stingy? Was it the half of the chocolate chip? Of course it wasn't
yes.
work. So be careful when you're reading research on this kind of stuff, because I think you've heard tonight enough people say, hey, you know what, this has been life-changing for me or for my horse or whatever. Be careful, because if it's done badly, it's like anything. You can drive, right? But if you drive on the wrong side of the yellow line, it's not going to work out for you very well. So you can do this, and you can do it badly. Yeah. Right? I mean, it's like anything. So just keep that in mind, because I do have people, oh, I tried it, and it just went south for me. Well, did you get any help? Did anybody ever watch you? Because to be quite frankly honest, if they would turn me loose with a car without any lessons, it would have been deadly. Right? And this is it's like anything that you do. We don't have to have a license to buy horses. We go out and get them, and then we start figuring out, wow, this is a lot more complicated than we thought. So I would encourage you just to remember there are people out here going, hey, this doesn't work. Yes, and there's reasons why. Yep,
anybody can do any training wrong, and you can get things. You can cause big frustration with food training if not done right, and you can get yourself in a pickle if not done right. But just the same with negative reinforcement. Any training can be done badly, so you do want to get the help. But and also behavior studies are very, very, very hard to get consistent. A lot of them are done with lab rats. We don't have lab rats. We have horses that come to us with all sorts of history, all different backgrounds, different things. They didn't live in one little environment their entire lives. And then the other side of the coin, well, if they do it with horses or very little's been done with horses, but they did it with horses who have been out in the world. Well, how have they been trained? What have they been exposed to? What is the trainer's history? How did they introduce it? Did they just cold turkey from a set thing to a big change, or did they kind of graduate towards it? There's one study that said horses prefer not to work. And you're like, well, like they gave them a choice. If you go this way, you go out and work. If you go this way, you just get turned out. Well, they all went to turnout. Well, is the horse been trained with positive reinforcement? Because we can get horses who love to work, but if they don't like people in general, because people represent all these, lack of choices, of course they want to go hang out with their friends and eat grass. Well, duh. But if they changed it and they used positive reinforcement for it, it would be a very different outcome. So there's a lot of factors that are very hard to replicate and get an honest depiction of something, or something's done with 3 dogs. You're like, 3 dogs represent the whole world of animals? So it is very hard to get behavior studies really done correctly and accurately. And we bring our own stuff to it, so then you're like, not only did the dogs or the horses bring their own stuff, but so did we, so it is really hard to get it get it right. But it
One
is.
of the biggest things I think is managing your expectations. I think our expectations are so far off from reality with what the horse is capable of doing in that moment. So I think a lot of it is about managing expectations, and if you start doing positive reinforcement or any kind of training, having a smaller expectation, I think, is
I
always.
think it's the expectation of the time frame. Like how long is this going to
However long it takes.
And that's the thing, like my friend Jane Savoy, she had a horse that came to her and they said, you will never, she got it from an Olympic dressage person, you will never clip this horse without medication. 3 days later, positive reinforcement, she's clipping the horse without medication. So sometimes that can take months, and sometimes it's going to go fast. You just don't know, and you just got to drop that and go, it's going to take what it takes. But the byproduct is you get a better horse, better communication, you're laying a foundation for so much more that it's going to be bigger than just that issue. You know, so it's, I was working with an FEI vet, and she had a horse she got from Germany, and he didn't clip. Speaking of clipping, so I come in, we start helping clip, and then one day, you know, we were giving him little breaks, and she's going out for a lesson, and I said, well, why don't you feed him under saddle? And she said, okay. So she fed him under saddle. Her trainer came out and said, that's the best canter he's ever done. And it's because he's getting fed for it. All of a sudden, he's like, yeah, you want to, you know. So, but the clipping was still kind of creeping along, you know. So some things will go fast, some things will go slow. We can't predict, but the byproduct sets us up. I always say in the beginning, slow down, you'll go faster. So you slow down, you take the time, you build the foundation, you give it what it needs. In the long term, you have a horse who's solving problems like nothing. You just bring new stuff to them. They're like, let's see, that didn't work. I'm going to try this. Oh, got it. That's it. You know, and they love the problem solving, and they move along much faster. But in the beginning, particularly, it takes some unpacking, you know, to get them into a balanced emotional place.
Very often it's our lack of skill, too, because I had a horse that I was really working on, had a lot of baggage with something, ropes actually, and I worked in Susie watching day after day, and I mean, I was giving it all I had, right? And then I finally called Shawna, and I was like, what do I do with this? And she told me like one thing, and I was just going too quick. You know, like I wasn't watching him, so she was like, because I was trying to be like, okay, I'm going all the way around you with these ropes on the ground. And instead she said, just watch him. And when he went to that one flick of an ear that said, I'm not totally 100% comfortable with those ropes on the ground, I stopped, clicked, and treated, right? Instead of going all the way around him. And within, what, a couple weeks, this year-long process that I've been doing badly, he was good. So a lot of times it's just a small tweak.
Yes.
Because we're not paying attention. And we need to wrap it up. But Ms. Pat, do you have any questions? Does anybody have any questions? I know Ms. Pat's kind of shot us, so I wanted to ask to make sure.
Oh, yeah, we have to drag it out of her. Pat, give me a question. Okay, Pam?
I don't know if this makes any difference, but Dazzle chews on her target in the stall. She's actually taken a couple hunks out of it. And sometimes she'll chew on the target if you're
I would just,
along with her. I don't know if that matters or not.
yeah, I would just, and what is it, when I look at that, I think, well, you're just not relaxed. So I would go back to, if I have a horse, what I would do is I would use the target like Melissa had in the stall, and I would put eye hooks and a couple zip ties so that thing is fastened down and it doesn't move. The more it moves, the more fun it is, especially for an 18-month-old. So the less it can do, the duller it is. So a lot of times they give up on that, and so those boat fenders are impervious. So that's what I would do there. So that will help that one. And with this, if I have a horse who keeps biting the target, I have a tendency to have the target up here, and then they come up to it. They tend to hit it with their nose first, and it usually discourages the open mouth. Now, and so if I can get some good approximations in, pretty soon they get the idea to do less. And so then sometimes they may go, okay, I'm good, I'm going to bite it. So I go back up here until I just build that reinforcement history with it a little quieter. I also think, what can I do to set them up for success? So maybe after she's played, after she's, you know, done some things, and maybe it's just keep it short and sweet. So again, not looking for a very long session with a baby who has attention span that's smaller. I just say, can you do it twice? Can you do it three? That's perfect. That's great. Here's a bunch. I'll see you later. Or we'll go play or do something else. So it's her way of playing, particularly with her, I think. It's her. Sometimes I look at it and I think this is frustration. But in her situation, I think it's her way of playing and doing stuff. So give her, if she's quiet, keeps it together, a little impulse control, then she can go play and do something else and burn that energy off, and maybe we'll try it again. So I would just kind of try to retrain it a little bit and try the technique of underneath and her coming up to it. A lot of times that helps quite a bit. That sound good?
That's awesome.
I'm full of them. 20-some years of horses.
Talk about that tomorrow too. So I'm going to kind of bring this to a close. So in gratitude for, thank you so much for taking
Aw.
food off my plate. And
I just want to see that.
Walmart,
Oh, yeah.
okay? Walmart right across the road, over there, okay? Julie?
I need about 5
Thank you very much. And I just want
Do
to
you just
thank.
put these everywhere, like in the
I do.
trailer?
I do. Outside in the paddocks
You know
and
what works really good?
separations.
The little bungee with the knob on the end, so it's just it's a total circle, and it has a little knob. And I use those, and I bungee those suckers everywhere. Okay, so that's a really good way because you can just undo it very quickly.
But be careful with the ones that play with it because the bungee can make it a little playier. So if it lives in their stall, I tend to use the zip cable ties.
Or bungee it really.
Yes.
You do it just so temporary,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
Right, yes, and
Yeah.
I kind of have them like in the place where they're gonna tie, they stay, you know what I mean? And it was interesting because Shawna bridled Eclipse today and she has no idea how he has a very routine, you know what I mean? And she was like, yeah, I didn't really know how to bridle him, and he just was like, oh no, let me help you, I can put I'll put my mouth on that bit. You know? So there's so many things you can do, but I think, I can't think of any one single influence, and I've had a lot of influence, and I've worked for multiple Olympians, and I've worked for horsemanship people, and I've done dressage, and I've ridden Western pleasure, believe it or not, and I've even done a few halter horses, and as a professional, I've done all of that, and I can't think of one single thing that changed my life more, and I have to say that it's a little bit, and you know, for those of you who are not religious, just you can remove this quote, but it's a little bit like the Bible, right? Every time I go back over things, every time I go back and watch my own video, every time I go back and watch the horse again, every time I watch one of Shawna's clinics, something else jumps out at me, different, that's always appropriate for the moment. So I don't think that you can ever learn enough from your horse, and I don't think you can ever learn enough about yourself and how you interact with the horse. And I think this is a really great opportunity, and I thank you all for coming, and I thank you, Shawna, for your time tonight.
Oh, yeah, my pleasure.
See you all tomorrow. Okay, and if you need my phone number because you don't know how to get there or anything like that, I laid some business cards and my phone number on the back. Again, please text me, don't email me. I'm not on the computer very much. So thank you again.
And I want to remind everybody, Melissa's here to help you. You know, she can help you with your issues as you're getting going. If you haven't got that already or didn't know that, which probably everybody has, but she's really good at it, and I encourage you to rely on that. We work closely together ourselves even, so.
But this is something you can take and run with. It's
Yeah.
not something that you need every 7 days. Somebody show up at your house and go, here's your lesson. It's not like that. It's not. You can do it. You have what you need inside of you to do it. True, a tweak helps. Like I just told you, Shawna helped me so many times. I've called her and been like, I'm at the end of my rope here, I'm doing wrong. And one little thing, but a tweak is good. But you can take this further than I think any other traditional training method on your own. Because your horse tells you right, wrong, straight, black and white. Right? You did that right, you did that wrong, you did that wrong, or it wasn't good enough, or whatever. You know, the horse gives you constant feedback, and if you're open to that, I think that you'll be amazed with the results that you get. So thanks again. Hope you come back to Compassion Equestrian, and hope to see you this weekend.
You know, I went to college at University of California, San Francisco.
Uh-huh,
And you said you're from California?
uh-huh.
Folks talk so fast there. I had to...
What are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about.
Uh-huh.
Are you saying that people talk really fast?
I had to record my lectures so I could listen to them again. It took them 2 or 3 months to figure out, because I talk slower, doesn't mean I think slower.
Yeah.
Just hear slower.
Yeah. You're like,